Hi everyone, Lexi Rodrigo here, blog editor of Mirasee. And today I'm going to be talking to Jim Hopkinson, our director of courses, about how we create courses at Mirasee. So, hi Jim.
Hi Lexi, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Excellent.
So, let's start by you talking about what is your role as Courses of Mirasee? Director of Courses at Mirasee. What does it mean to be Director of Courses at Mirasee?
Well, we have a couple of different divisions at Mirasee. We have an education team that coaches our students. We do a conference. We have a high-end coaching program, but we also do online courses. So anything that falls under creating online courses for our students to help entrepreneurs, to help small businesses kind of level up their business and scale that, that's what I'm in charge of.
Now, I know that at Mirasee, we strive to create world-class online courses. Now, what are the hallmarks of a world-class online course? Like, if I'm looking at a course, how do I know it's world-class?
All right, I think there's about 6 things that you can look into. So one is looking at the presentation and delivery. And all of these things are on a sliding scale. Some people are just starting out, and that's totally fine. Some people kind of have built a few, and then some are, have so much experience that they start to get into world class. So in the presentation and delivery, at the low end, it's something that's just monotonous and rambling. And at the high end, it's almost like edutainment. So you're learning, but you're also being entertained. There's the tech and the user interface. So that scales from someone being confused and saying, where do I go next, to easily finding directions to a point where you intuitively know. Like if you give a young child an iPad, they don't have to read a manual. They intuitively know what to do. So that's kind of at the highest end. The content itself, right? So some people try to throw in everything but the kitchen sink, but ideally the content is exactly what the person needs and kind of gives them that transformation. There's coaching and support, which is one of the main things that distinguishes Mirasee from other companies. So at one end is no support, or you get like an FAQ. Sometimes there's one channel where maybe you can email the host, but at the top end, you have a dedicated coach, you have a live person you can talk to, or you have a behavioral trigger. Like it knows, a world-class course can tell when you're in trouble and help you out then. Community and accountability, whether that's a Slack group and interfacing with your peers. And lastly, of course, is the success behavior. Does the course do what it's meant to do? Does someone have a transformation? Do they go into the course and say, before the course, I couldn't do X, and now that I've taken the course, I can do X? And so those are the hallmarks of a world-class course.
Wow, fascinating. So what goes into creating a world-class online course, like in broad strokes? Because I think if you went into detail, you could probably spend a whole day answering this question.
Yeah.
But in broad strokes, what is the course creation process like for Mirasee?
Well, it starts with an idea. So you have an idea of what's going to make a good course. You ideally have an audience. And then we go into research mode, and try to validate that. And then quickly, what we're very much into is doing a pilot. So before you go into your bat cave and start filming things, do a high-touch pilot, which means doing something live, doing something cheap without a lot of technology to see what's out there, to see how people react. And then we do one of 3 things, either iterate, pivot, or scale. So if it kind of worked, then maybe you switch some things and do the pilot again. If it didn't work at all, then maybe you pivot to a different idea. And if it worked pretty well, you scale it to the next level. If you're going to scale to the next level, then it just starts with an outline. You get down to a script. In our case, we go into a studio where we have the green screen and the production. We do some editing. We add in other elements like collaterals and graphics. We get our coaching team set up, and then we put it all together, we test it, and launch it out to the world.
Sounds like a lot of work.
It is. It can be.
Now, what part of Mirasee's online courses are you most proud of that you think really sets us apart from other course creators out there?
I would say, one of the cool things that we've done recently is this technological thing of peer review. So trying to replicate, because, the advantage of meeting in person is you've got classmates around and you go grab coffee and you work on your homework and you lose a little bit of that online. But we've built that into the course where you're grading each other's papers, you're grading each other's homework, you're getting that feedback. And it's really about part of our team, right? So we've got Danny, our CEO at the top, who's such a visionary. He takes care of the big picture. He gives that to me, and I'm able to get into the details of building all those steps, sometimes adding some humor in there. We've got the education team who has great coaches and great support. And then it just continually improving that, building on it, because there is so much to learn.
Now, how do we make sure that our courses are creating great outcomes for our students? I think this is another area where Mirasee is pioneering. And in fact, for a lot of online courses, the majority is, where students aren't even completing the courses, so let alone getting the results that they want, right? So what are we doing to make sure that our students do get the outcomes that they're seeking?
I think a lot of it is just continual improvement, right? Like getting that feedback, not just throwing it out there and hoping that it works. So Danny and I just got back from a week-long conference about learning techniques and what's on the cutting edge. We do a lot of testing here. So for example, one of our courses was 6 weeks long, and we thought that might not be the proper length to get someone motivated and through it. So we're testing shortening that to 3 weeks and doing it more of a sprint. We've tried different learning management or LMS platforms to see which one gives the best feedback. We're constantly doing surveys at every level. So when you're watching a video, you can rank how did you do on that particular lesson, 1 to 5. At the end of each module, we have a quick survey. And it doesn't have to be extensive. It can be something as easy as, what was your best takeaway from this? What was something that was missing? And what's something that you didn't expect? And then, just kind of building that. We get feedback in from the course, from analytics, from our coaches, from Slack. And so putting that all together, you can continually build a better process.
Now, of course, Mirasee is an organization with, right now we're 20 plus members, right? Are we at 30?
We're almost up to 30, I think.
Yeah. And, we've been around for a number of years. Danny's been doing this for some time. And we have the resources to create really great courses. But for somebody who's just starting out, who might be watching, and they also want to aspire to have this, spectacular courses, right? What is your advice for them? Like, they don't have the resources that we have, but how can they slowly level up to that?
I think the advice is just get started. Just you can wish that you were in a fancy studio or you had a lot of money to put into production, but even us, like everyone, you had to start somewhere, right? So let me give you some examples. So Danny started out with one of his courses, Write Like Freddie. It was literally a black PowerPoint with red text. Frankly, it was a little tough to read, but the bottom line was it got results. It wasn't because it was good content, because he delivered it well, even though it didn't have the best interface. It got results for people. And then later when we had the resources, we revamped it, we renamed it to Standout Guest Posting, and it's got all those cool elements we have now. It's Danny, it's in front of a green screen, we've got downloads, we got interactive videos, we got templates, and so we scaled up to that. Even our flagship program, Course Builders Laboratory, we're gonna be rolling out version 4 eventually. It didn't start out at version 4, right? It's slowly getting it, iterating, find what's working. My courses, I literally started with like 4 people at brunch. I was like, I'm going to pay people. I'm going to cook brunch for people and teach them this skill and see what happens. And people responded. And then I moved up to meetup groups, maybe 10 people. And then I worked up to speeches. And then I did a very bad course. It was same thing. It was free. It was a PowerPoint, but people responded. I was able to make a good free course and then a good paid course and then great paid courses. And I'll leave you with one more, an example that we talk about in Course Builders Laboratory is our friend Vanessa Van Edwards, who has taught. She's an amazing teacher. She's a published author. She's taught hundreds of thousands of people. And when we interviewed her, we showed an example of the highest end. She's on Creative Live. She's in front of a live studio audience. There's these boom cameras coming in off of these dollies, and she's calling people up from the audience, and she's teaching all this. And we said, wow, how can you afford that and all this stuff? How did you get started? And she talks about, she's like, oh no, it didn't start out that way. She recorded her first course on her iPhone at her house in her kitchen, right? No fancy lighting, just the phone that she had. And her goal was to price her course at $49. And she was like, I hope I get 30 students. If I could get 30 students, I'd be so happy. Can you guess how many she got?
I actually know the answer, but so tell the viewers
To the
how many.
audience that it was 400 sales the first day. And so if you can do that and you've got great content and you just try, she never would have known that if she didn't just try or if she waited to get to the next level. So, and at Mirasee, we have countless examples of students that we've helped that just started somewhere and then built on it and was successful later.
Great advice, Jim. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And yeah, enjoy the rest of your day.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Lexi.
Bye.